Hi, welcome to my video on verifying a solution, or we call a solution a root. To verify that a number is a solution or a root of an equation, the number is substituted into the original equation for all x variables. Notice the original. The left and right sides are simplified to a value by following the order of operations. If the value on each side is the same, then the number is a solution or a root. If each side is not the same, then the number is not a solution or a root. Let's do some examples and explain. Example 1, 3 is a root of this. Let's check, is 3. So we put 3 in the place of x, and 3 is going in the place of x. 3 plus 1 is 4, 4 equals 4, so 3 is a solution. Or we could say 3 is a root. Let's put a negative 3 in the place of x. So 3 negative 4 times negative 3 plus 8 equals negative, things are, that's a 4. So notice when I put the negative 3 in the place of x here, this is 4 times, so I had to put this in a bracket. That gives me, I have to obey PEMDAS, so I have to multiply these two first. So that's negative 12 plus 8 equals 4. Negative 4 equals 4. Nope. So negative 3 is not a solution or a root. Not a solution or a root. Let's check to see if 5 is a root here. So I'm going to put 5 in the place of x. Put 5 in the place of x. So I put 5 in the place of this x and 5 here. And again, that's a multiplication, so this goes in a bracket. That's a multiplication, so the 5 goes in a bracket. Now we have to obey PEMDAS. Well, the insides are already simplified. There's no exponents, so we have to multiply these two. And we have to multiply these two before we subtract or add. 15 minus 4, 10 plus 1. 15 minus 4 is 11. 10 plus 1 is 11. 11 equals 11, so that means 5 is a root. Or 5 is a solution, whatever way you want to say it. But you'll hear the word root more often in grade, 10, 11, and 12. Roots of an equation are the solutions. Is 1 a solution of this equation? Well, we sub 1 in the place of x. You go on through and put 1 in the place of x. Done. Notice here I just put a 1 in, no bracket. When I put a 1 here, I had to put a bracket around it because of the multiplication. And I didn't need a bracket here. In PEMDAS, we have to do the inside of the brackets first before we do anything else. So the inside of this bracket is done 0, and that's a 2. Now on each side we look at, I have to multiply and or divide from left to right. So I have to multiply this one and multiply this one. So that's a 12, and that's a negative 2. Multiply here, I get a 0. And that's a 10, and 0, no. So 1 is not a solution. Or you could say 1 is not a root, whatever you want. Let's continue. Is 2. Practice means what? Practice means you pause the video and work these out and see if you're going to get the right answers. And press play when you finish. 2 is a solution. That means I sub 2 in the place of x. Notice right here, this is the negative x. So that's the negative of this number. So if that number is 2, this will end up to be negative 2. Because I put a bracket around it. So that's the negative of whatever this is. So that makes that a negative 2. And I have to obey the order of operations here. I do the inside first, then I multiply after. And, that's a plus 6. That's a plus 6. So that gives me a plus 4. Be careful. I'm talking too much. I wrote down a negative 6 here. So that's a 6, 4. Yes, 2 is a root. 2 is a solution. Whatever way you want to say it. 2 is a solution. 2 is a root. Because it makes 4 equals 4. Both sides true. Is negative 3 the solution of this one? Let's sub negative 3 in the place of x. So I put negative 3 right here with a bracket because of the multiplication. I put a negative 3 here in brackets because of multiplication. So now I have to do PEMDAS. Can I simplify inside of here? No. Nope. Is there any exponents? Nope. And I have to multiply before I add. So I multiply. And on this side I multiply. And when I'm finished, I have 21 and a negative 19. Not true, so negative 3 is not a root or a solution. Not a solution, not a root. Is negative 2 a solution of this? So that means I go through everywhere I see an x, I put a negative 2. Here I go. Everywhere I see an x, I put a negative 2. Negative 2 in the place of x. Done. And notice these are all 5 times, negative 3 times, 6 times, so I put in brackets. And I look through here, and I can't simplify the inside because I just subbed them in. I don't have any exponents, so I have to multiply, multiply, and multiply. On this side, I got a multiplication, addition, multiplication, so I multiply these two. On this side, I got a multiplication, subtraction, so I multiply. So that's a negative 12, leave the 2 alone, and plus 6. And that's a negative 10, minus 2. Negative 12 plus 2 is negative 10, plus 4 is negative 4. Negative 10 minus 2 is negative 12. And a negative 2 is not a solution, not a root. I keep writing the 2 of these down, no need, but I want to drive home that solutions is the same thing as roots. And they're not the same, so it's not a solution. Let's put 5 in this one in the place of x. Here goes 5 in the place of x. 5 is going in the place of x. I'm subbing 5 in. Let's see. 3 times x is 3 times 5 in a bracket. 5 goes here, so I don't need a bracket. And 5 goes here, so I don't need a bracket. Now, I have to do the inside first. And I have to do this one. So that's a 2. And that's a 6. So PEMDAS, I have to do the inside of the brackets first. Any exponents? Nope. Now I multiply, multiply, and multiply. That's a 15, 4, negative 18. And that's a 11 and a negative 18. So 5 is not a solution or a root. Make that a solution, spell it right. Okay, so that's sub it in and simplify by obeying the order of operations. That's why the order of operations is extremely, extremely important to know. PEMDAS, P-E-M-D-A-S. And if you follow my videos, I've said it over and over and over. By now you should say PEMDAS. Oh yeah, P-E-M-D-A-S. That's brackets, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, left to right, addition, subtraction. Now, let's work these. We're going to solve and check this time. So to solve this, 8x minus 2x, 17 plus 1. The plus 2x becomes a minus, the minus 1 becomes a plus. 6x equals 18, and I divide by negative 6. The 6 is cancelled out to give you a 1, I'll put it there. And a 1x, that's the same as x. And we have to write down the original equation. There's the original equation with no change. Now I put negative 3 in the place of x. Negative 3 goes in a bracket because of the multiplication. 8 times x. So that's, when I work these out on each side, I multiply here before I subtract. I multiply here before I add. Negative 24 minus 1. Negative 6 plus 17. Negative 25 equals, I said a negative 3, right? Now, what happened? Negative 3. I got a negative 6. Oh, I made a mistake. That's a plus 6 I'm dividing by. So that's a 3. So see, when you make an error, checking it back to see if you're right. So this is a 3 I'm putting in here. This is the 3 I'm subbing in. So that's a plus 24. That makes that a plus 23. And I put a 3 in, so I get a plus 6. So that, oh, now I solved it and got a negative 3, but I didn't know I made an error. By subbing it back into the equation, if the equation gets the same number on each side, then I know the root is true. I didn't get that. So I went back and checked to say, where did I make my error? So 8 subtract 2 is plus 6. I found the error right here. Then I went through and got a 3. I put the 3 in and I verified. So yes, 3 is a root. Made an error and I found out by checking. There's one reason, but you can't check everything all the time. So you hope that you work out. But when you got time, you can check it. B, let's work this one. I have to multiply by PEMDAS. So when I multiply here, be careful. 3 times x, 3 times negative 6. So negative 18. And 10x plus, so I have to do the multiplication before. I can't add in, subtract inside of here because they're not like terms. I have no exponent or only a 1. I multiplied. Now I got to go and move the plus 10 over here and make it a minus. And I moved the minus 18 over here to make it a plus, because I will always do x's on the left, numbers on the right. And when I move them, I will change the sign. Adding goes to a plus, a minus, and minus goes to a plus. That's a negative 7 equals 21. And you divide by negative 7. They cancel to get your 1x and negative 3. So now I'll take the original equation just as it is. The original equation. There it is. The original equation. Now I'll sub a negative 3 in the place of x. Negative 3 in the place of x. Negative 3 here. I got to do PEMDAS. I got to do the inside of this first to get a 9. Negative. And I could do this over here because these two sides could be worked out independently. So that's, I have to multiply before I add. So that's negative 30 plus 3. Multiply here, I get a negative 27. Add here, I get a negative 27. So negative 3 is a root because both sides are the same. Practice means pause the video and work these out to see if everything is okay. So solve them first and sub in after to check. Here we go. 2 times x, 2x. 2 times 1, 2. 4 times x, 4x. 4 times negative 2, negative 8. X is on the left side. Plus becomes a minus. A plus becomes a minus. So the x's go to the left, the numbers go to the right. That's a negative 2 when 2 minus 4 is negative 2 equals negative 8. Negative 2 is negative 10. Divide by negative 2. That cancels. I get a 1x. 5. Let's see if I'm right. Sometimes you do make mistakes, so just be careful. There's the original equation. Now I'm subbing in a 5. 5 plus 1. I'm subbing a 5 in. 5 is going into place of x. I have to do the PEMDAS. I have to do the inside of the brackets first. I have to do the inside of the brackets. And I multiply to get a 12. Multiply to get a 12. So 5 is a root. And number 2. So I have to be careful. Now notice here. This is a multiplication. So PEMDAS says I have to multiply these two. And then I multiply these two. So this 3x stays right there. And negative, if you want to go plus a negative, go ahead. But that's just the same as if I do plus a negative. That was the same as the negative 2. That's negative 8x plus 2 when I multiply. Negative 2 times 4x, negative 2 times 1. 7 times x, 7x. 7 times 2, 14. 7 times x, 7 times 2. Distributive property. And I should simplify each side first. That's a negative 5x Why should I simplify each side? Because when you simplify each side first, you have less to transpose. If you simplify, you only got one x to move and one number to move possible. Simplifying each side is the thing to do to make the math less chance of making an error when you simplify each side. Plus 7 becomes a minus, a plus becomes a minus. X's to the left, numbers to the right. Negative 12x equals 12. Divide by negative 12. They cancel it to give you 1x, and that cancels to give you negative 1. Now I'm going to write down the original equation. Remember, that was a minus right there, so I'll let the original equation, there it is. Now I'm subbing in a negative 1. That's a multiplication, so it's a bracket. That's a multiplication, so I put a bracket around the negative 1 when I sub in. So I got to be careful here now, because this is a bigger bracket. And I put a negative 1 in here. So let's see if I did it right. Put a negative 1 there, put a negative 1 there, and a negative 1 there. Okay. Now I'm doing each side. I have to simplify the inside of the brackets first. Well, so I see this is a 4 times that, negative 1. So that's negative 4 minus 1. That's a negative 5. And that's negative 1 plus 2 is 1. Notice I did this here in my head. So if you think about it right there, that's a negative 4 minus 1 because I multiply before I subtract, which gives you the negative 5. So rather than write this down again, I just did the inside this quickly because I multiplied and then subtracted the 1. Now I have to multiply, multiply, multiply. According to this, I get a negative 3 plus 10 equals 7. 7 equals 7. Negative 1 is a root. So that's verifying that a root, or verifying that a number is a solution, whatever way you want to say it. So if you solve and sub it back in, and you get both sides the same, then you know that that number is the solution or the root. So subbing the number back in the original equation and getting both sides the same means it's a solution. If you like my video, click the like button. And if you're not a subscriber and you want to subscribe, click the subscribe button and the notification bell, because there's more videos being done by me each week and month. Write a comment on my video if you're a subscriber, and visit my math website at mathfullyexplained.com. I have 3 sections. Me talks about my degrees and teaching experience. The section that's marked on videos talks about the teaching strategies you're going to use to help you learn your math. The section on content has the topics and the number of videos on each topic. That's online in black font, and in red font is the videos that I'll be doing in the near future. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.